and happy last Tuesday of August. Look at that. We're almost 8 months down, 4 months to go for the year. What a deal. As we get through the summer, hopefully where you are, it's a little bit cooler than where I'm at. It's been hot here, been in the hundreds, so that's made life interesting. But I want to start off, as I always do, with checking on those around you. Checking on those, especially if you've got somebody that you know who's been through some sort of a trauma, whether it's medical, family, school, work, whatever. Oftentimes we're there when it's happening. It's like something's going on and everybody's there, they're supportive. But then when the smiles start coming back, we tend to just kind of think everything's okay. And that's not always the case. We're all so good at putting those masks on. It's like, I know this one very well. And I know friends who have gone through these traumatic situations. And when you look at them, they look fine. They got a smile. But when you ask the question, how are you doing? And don't take fine for an answer, because fine is feelings inward, not expressed. That's how Agape put it. And I love that term. Make sure that you're going deeper. Make sure you know, are they really doing fine? And if they're not, what can you do to help? So just be there to support. Just because they're smiling now doesn't mean that they're really smiling on the inside. We're so good with masks. And I want to thank my sponsors, always beginning with my dear sis, Dr. Constance Leland. And I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. Netflix of education. And she is that. Every time we do a show together, that is what she's doing. She is always teaching, always creating acronyms and frameworks. I'm almost afraid to see what's going to happen to me, because I suspect at some point I might start sliding into the same thing. But she's somebody, queen of publicity. So she's got the education, she's got the publicity, and she's got live stream, podcast. She's had and will have again TV show, radio. She has her own press release office, basically. If you've got something that you want to get out there, you think you're ready to go, you want to talk about a book, a new project, a new company, whatever it is, touch base with her, have a chat, because one of the most beautiful things about her is, as you explain whatever it is that you're looking to do, what it is that you want to get out in the world, she will see very quickly if you're ready to do it. And if you're not, she's not going to want you to waste money. She's going to want to make sure that you are at your best position. You are ready to put it out there. She'll give you some guidance, and then she's ready to put you out in the world when you are ready. Check her out, and you can DM her. She's on LinkedIn. She's on YouTube. She's on Instagram, TikTok. She is everywhere with a huge following. The Hounds of Business. Here's a group. When I think of the Hounds and I think of Mike Ashebrainer, my first thoughts go to collaboration over competition. Here's a group that when I look at people in the Hounds, and I've seen so many times where it looks like two people are doing the same thing, but they get together, they collaborate, they start doing things together. And what it really means is they are sharing the burden. So no longer it's like you're not doing it all by yourself. You've shared the burden. No longer are you alone in this. You're learning from each other. And you're opening up new audiences to each other, because quite frankly, everybody that's following you does not mean that they're your people. You've interested them, lurkers are following, but when you work with somebody else, you open each other up to new opportunities. And that's the beauty of a community like the Hounds of Business. That's the beauty of collaboration over competition. C&M Consulting. This is my dear sis Danielle, who is so knowledgeable when it comes to HR. That's what she does. She understands the rules, the requirements, what needs to be done for HR, but she also has such an empathetic approach to it, to make sure that as you're meeting the requirements, you're also creating a space that is more open for everybody in the organization. So when you're looking for somebody, if you got that HR, you're trying to figure out what you're doing, trying to get out of the doldrums or whatever, check out Danielle and C&M Consulting. I always throw up this for Bella Grace, my dear sis. I think I'm going to get a chance to test out this elixir myself, which I'm really excited about, because I heard CJ talk about it. I've heard April talk about it, and how very shortly after they started taking this, that they just felt so much better. And CJ's got somebody from Bella Grace who's put these together, who's been involved with creating these. That's who's going to be on with her tomorrow. So don't miss CJ's show, same time as now, but tomorrow, Wednesday. And she's going to have somebody from Bella Grace on. It's going to be an amazing, amazing conversation. When we talk about those in need, we've been talking about our niece. We love to call her our niece. It's Danielle's daughter, Elise. CJ and I, CJ put this together for a GoFundMe because Elise, it's like she graduated from kindergarten, and in less than a week, she's in the hospital and has Kawasaki disease, is diagnosed with Kawasaki, and it's just turned the world upside down. It's a case where, and Danielle says, I've heard her say this on her own shows, Elise almost died in the hospital. It was that bad. And so there's still medical issues going on. Plus, Danielle's, her husband had strokes last year. So, I mean, it's so much going on. We put the GoFundMe together for support. And then we also have, it's like we ask for prayers. We ask for just sharing the word, because this little girl, she's a spark plug. And right now she's immunocompromised, which means she's not living like she did 4 months ago, 3 months ago. So we just want to get the word out and help this girl and help the family be able to get some of the additional, be able to go to some of the other clinics. They're trying to go to Stanford. The insurance didn't approve it, so it costs money to do that. So I just want to put that out there. And then lastly, CJ and I we've got the 50 inspirational. So that will come at the very end of this. I've got something for that. But our next anthology is up. In the space between. DM either of us, DM CJ, DM me if you're interested. This is looking at how often do we see people talk about where they were and where they are. And this is what they highlight. It's like, yeah, I used to do this, now I'm doing that. And they never talk about that in between. How did you get from point A to point B? What happened between this and that? Between these and those, that in between, because nobody talks about it. Look at social media. You see everybody talking about how great it is right now for what they're doing and trying to say that's the way it was. And they don't talk about all the stuff they had to go through to get from point A to point B. And sometimes it's point A to point L, and all those twists and turns you had to deal with to get to that point. That's what we're looking at here. And we know you've got amazing stories to tell about the space in between. This is a chance to put your story out there. Join us, because when you work with CJ and I, you're only working with the two of us. We do everything together. The marketing, the CJ's in charge of this one. It's like we switch off. I was in charge of the last book. CJ's got this one. We're doing all the editing. So you're working with one or both of us through the writing process. We hold your hand through it. We make sure that you're comfortable. And so many authors have walked in to join us with trepidation. And by the time they were done, and we go quick, it's 2,000 to 3,000 words. But by the time they're done, they're ready to write the next thing. They can't wait to write the next thing. So we would love to have you come and join us. And we've kept the price, because I mean, it's just the two of us doing this. So there is a price to get in, but we do have some discounts as well. Reach out to us, ask the questions. We'd love to have you be a part of In the Space Between. And as we get started, let me see who's here. We got Royce is here. Dear sis, Lisa, and I love to talk about Lisa briefly. That if ladies, if you're in the midst of perimenopause, menopause, Lisa's the person to talk to. Check her out. She is amazing when it comes to this. And guys, you're not immune to it either. You get to go through andropause, and she knows all about that. My dear sis, I love it. Yeah, I love my sponsors. And yes, you definitely are everywhere. But I'm going to bring up Curtis, because like, I feel like you were back there too long. I can't wait to have the chat with you. It's like, this happens a lot, actually. This is the first real conversation I've had with you. And so many people, is like, this is what happens. We've chatted here and there, but this is the first long term. And I know you've got an amazing story. I've heard you with CJ. I've heard you on the Hounds. And so I'd love to be able to have you we'll just start out with kind of talk a little bit about your background, your story, because it is a wild story, and what got you to where you're at now.
Sure. So I began life as a world record breaking movie stuntman, and I've since become an award-winning author. And what I'm doing now is guiding heart-centered souls through an authentic awakening to reimagine, realign, and reignite their path. So what that means is I'm working with people who are like myself, who have got to a point where something feels wrong, something feels off in their life. They're no longer feel authentic. And oftentimes this is because we've gotten into something at a younger age that used to light us up. And we've just kept on with that for so long that we forgot the fact that we grow as people and we change as people. And hopefully we get brighter and brighter and bigger and more authentic and comfortable in our own shoes. Oftentimes people don't do that. And that was the case with me. So I spent many years training to be a professional stuntman, because that's what I wanted to do as a child, literally writing away as an 11-year-old to different TV companies. How do I become a stuntman in the movies? And then acting on that as a young adult. And cut forward, I've been doing that for 30 years in the TV and film industry. I've had some success. I won some awards, broken some world records. But it got to a point where that wasn't really me. I wasn't that tough alpha male on the film set. Not really. The real me was the person long after I left the film set who went home and lit incense and some candles and meditated, or sat by candlelight reading dusty old books and interested in all sorts of subjects. And that real person, that was me as a child. I wasn't boisterous, and I wasn't that potential alpha male later. I was a quiet kid. I was shy, introspective, spent a lot of time at the library. I was a real nerd, to be honest. I had a microscope, a telescope, and just full of childlike wonder, which hopefully I've retained and certainly revisited in the last few years and held tightly, because that's a great way to navigate this world with childlike curiosity and wonder still, because there's real magic around and miracles, and if you only look for them. So having navigated away from the toxic film world, as I would call it, something that just wasn't me anymore. It was more and more difficult. You mentioned boxes and masks. That was the mask I wore. I would literally drive to work, and it got more and more difficult to pull up, literally put a hat on. Talk about wearing different hats. I had a baseball cap. That's my stunt coordinator, stunt director hat. I clip on a radio and take a deep breath. And for the next 12 hours, I had to be somebody different, assertive, run the floor, macho, and it became more and more exhausting. Whereas when I did things in my authenticity, when I sat and I wrote, it almost wrote itself. It was effortless. I was in that space of flow that I've come to realize, is being in alignment. So when I wrote, it was effortless. When I got up on stage to share my message with people, to help them, I felt emotion in my heart, and that flowed out through my words. Again, it just felt like I was doing the right thing, and I was being the real me. And that's then moved on into my coaching practice, where I'm helping people who are a bit lost, and that they just know that they're not doing what they're meant to do. They have a sense that there's a bigger picture, and they've somehow drifted off course. And I hold their hand and take them on a journey, typically 8 weeks we spend together to realign and reignite their path. So they're back aligned and they're fired up, and they leave my program really enthusiastic. And we've dropped a lot of baggage along the way, all these limiting beliefs. And to your mask analogy, we've finally taken that mask off, and maybe a couple of masks actually, and we've left them behind, and we're brave enough to stand strong and in alignment moving forward.
Oh yeah, those masks. We wear multiple masks because it depends on where we're going as to what we're doing. And I can think of just my own history. The reason I got into this in the first place with the boxes, I got tired of being told who I am, what I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do. And after a half century of that, it's like I've finally had my own, like you would say, moment to ignite and just say, I'm done with it. It's because so many of us, we know who we are. We know what our purpose is in so many ways. But every time you try to fit in someplace, you feel like if you're trying to fit in, the way I look at it is you don't belong there, because you have to cover something to fit in. And as you were talking about even your own experience, you're basically doing that as you were getting tired of the acting side. It's like you're at the point where you're trying to fit in to a place that you're not feeling like you really belong.
It's exactly that. It's, I believe in, we're all energy, we all vibrate and oscillate, on a certain level. And I believe in that thing of vibes and a certain vibration that we're on. We find our tribe that, we vibe with, and there's a lot of truth in that. And so, I had to learn to become the tough guy in the course of becoming a stuntman. What I mean by that is I did have to do boxing. I had to learn to throw a punch, take a punch, knock somebody out against all my kind of natural leanings. I had to become this, weight train, develop a strong body, get that black belt in a martial art, leap out of aeroplanes. I had to learn to ride horses and get over my seasickness to learn to be a commercial diver. And there was a long, long list of things to overcome. And that creates this person that the film industry says is a perfect trainee stuntman. You then spend another 5 years after that. It's about 12 years all in the training before you fully qualify. And at that point, there was a time, don't get me wrong, I was still like a big child arriving on the film set, on a James Bond set, or on the set of Harry Potter, looking around. This is great. It took a long time for that to leave. But it just became a different vibration away from the film set. The more I got into meditation and mindfulness, and as I grew spiritually, as I got older, I got to my mid-30s and became kinder and more loving. And it became a balance. By the time I hit 40, I learned that I have feminine energies just the same as I have masculine energies, regardless of gender. That I had feminine energies that were like a wounded female, the victim, which I've since gotten rid of. And I had that toxic energy, toxic male traits that I've gotten rid of. When you do the inner work that I go through with my clients, you end up with this status where you're embracing a sacred masculinity and a sacred femininity in equal proportion. So it's fine for me as a male to be kind and caring and loving with that nurture energy and embracing that. Great. At the same time, I can stand strong and tall in my sacred masculine as a protector and look after my loved ones and have my firm boundaries. And that makes somebody a well-rounded individual. So when you get to that place, and then you really feel it when you get into a place like the film world, if there's bullying going on, people in their toxic masculinity, and all sorts of strange lower vibrational activities going on behind the scenes, it's not an environment that resonates. It repels, and it gets more and more difficult to just exist in that space for an hour, let alone 12 hours on a film set. And then you go somewhere lovely and you do a talk, or you run a workshop, or you have a breakthrough with the client. I feel emotional, they feel emotional. I'm in resonance with the real me deep down, my sole purpose to bring people together in unity, to raise their vibration and to help people find their way again, So it's just effortless, and it's a beautiful way of living from day to day. But it's about, I've encouraged somewhere along that journey to lean into that.
Yeah. And I like the way you're going through that, talking about that, because I feel like so many just, first off, they get stuck in their own head, and it's so hard to let go of what everybody else is telling us to do and be. I mean, that's what like I said, I dealt with that for half century and I know the point that everything started. I know the point when it ended, but everything in the middle, it's like, it wasn't me. It was wearing a mask almost 24/7, trying to be what I wasn't. But at the same time, understanding that everything I went through, I did go through it for a reason. Because the one thing I won't do, and this is how I connected with CJ in the first place, is I won't look back on my past and wish that I'd changed something. Wish that something didn't happen. Wish that whatever. I love talking about the butterfly effect, as written by Ray Bradbury in The Sound of Thunder. A time travel story. It's like, to go back and change anything, in this case it was to step on a butterfly, is to make a change in the present that means you're not the same person anymore. And why risk that? So this is the point. If somebody is ready to make a change, this is the point to do it. Do it now. Don't think about the past. If they need to do that, talk to you now. Don't wish that they talked to you like 3 months ago. It wasn't right then. Now it's right.
Yeah, I guess on a certain level, that's all there is. At the risk of getting too deep, all there is the now. Future hasn't happened yet. Past's been and gone. And, I go through this with students, with clients, that mindfulness exercise fits it hand in glove with gratitude and being grateful for the moment, looking around you for a second. Just take some time out of future planning and goal setting and wishing this hadn't happened, like you say. I love the butterfly effect, and I'm a Bradbury fan as well. And it's true. I was talking to a client just this morning about this very thing of something isn't defining you that happened years ago. That was then, and actually, that's without that you wouldn't be the person that you are today, who's at this lovely place, and it makes you who you are, and you wouldn't change that. That was then. You say thank you for that lesson. No longer needed. I can let you go now. But thanks for your help in learning this lesson. And you're equipped then to move on. Don't carry that baggage with you. It's not serving you anymore. But appreciate it is what it is, and it made you who you are today. And just be more present in the moment. By all means, look ahead to the future and make your plans, and make that part of your practice to plan ahead and take aligned action every day in that direction. But don't live in that, don't live in the past, don't live in the future. Just set and forget and enjoy the present moment more.
Oh yeah. I heard that story over and over because I had cassettes. This back in the 80s. It's like I've got cassettes as I'm driving to drill. It was a 3-hour drive, so I'd be going through old time radio cassettes because there's no radio where I was going. I'm in the middle of nowheres. And that was one of the stories that I just I can't forget that one. I just love that one. And it's so important to stay in the present too. I mean, we know what happened in the past, but like you said, you don't want to live in the past, because if you keep reliving the past, if you keep focusing on the past, all that's going to happen is it's going to become the future. We become what we're thinking all the time. And if we're thinking the past all the time, how can it ever change the present to future?
Absolutely. And I have to catch myself as well, looking back sometimes on nostalgic videos or something like that, some retro thing, or that, I grew up in the late 70s, the early 80s. And, so I have to catch myself sometimes thinking, oh gosh, I missed that particular time or this. And I just get there momentarily and catch myself, because once you have that longing and your vibration is one of longing, it's connected to lack. It's noticing a lack of, and you start transmitting lack, and you're actually pushing things away. So yeah, it's another reason not to dwell on the past, and just to embrace what you have now. There's so much around us to be grateful for once we stop and we start thinking of it.
Yeah, that's what I try to do every morning, is wake up and be grateful that, number one, I woke up, and to not focus on that past as much as possible, to not focus on whatever issues are trying to suck my energy at the moment, because there's plenty of them, and I'd rather not let those take charge, and stick with the positives. And you talk about 70s and 80s. I mean, that's when I grew up too. I graduated high school and graduated college in the 80s. So that was definitely its own interesting time, because I was very much an introvert at that point, and still am, but somebody's kind of pulling me out of that introvert a little bit. She's always there. Yeah, she's always
doing
there.
a great job, isn't she? I would say
she'll be the first to tell you that, yeah, she knows what I was like when we first met now. And that's what we need around us. I suspect that's what you're doing with the people that you work with, is giving them that same opportunity to basically pull them out of whatever shell they're stuck in, so that they can find their true calling. Because if they're stuck, how do they get to the true calling?
exactly that. In reality, the majority of your true calling and that kind of sense of soul purpose, it's more a remembering than it is of a finding. You're not going to find it rummaging around some old bookstore or flying to some ashram in India. It's not there. It's within us at all times. But we've got so many layers, like layers of an onion, that we pile on, or armor, layers of armor that we pile on, weighing us down. So it's early days, just breathing and becoming more present. And like we're just saying, get your head out of the past. We can explore that and look at the little breadcrumbs that led to this moment. But let's sweep those breadcrumbs up by the time we're done, and let's just see what we can let go of now, because most people have like 7 or 8 different things that aren't really true, but they're holding on to them as truths. And once we explore them and start asking, is that true really? It probably was at one point, but it isn't now. Once you start to explore and just loosen your grip, let go of these things, and you start to feel lighter immediately. And it's after you've let go of these limiting beliefs, which is doable. It's not, oh, it works for some people, it doesn't work for everyone, I'm not wired that way. Like, no, these techniques, they work for everyone. And it's a wonderful feeling just to get rid of the limiting beliefs, because then you're back to, okay, now let's explore the real you underneath that's been lurking, that's been hiding in the shadows. Step out and let's have a little look at that. And because we can point our ship anywhere, we can control our rudder and set a new destination that gets us excited, and just keep on working at that destination until we arrive. So it becomes, the drudgery disappears quickly and turns into excitement, and it's a lot easier. It's like swimming upstream for 20 years or longer, and all you've got to do first is just stop and realize that there's a current already carrying you, and straight away, oh, actually I'm going the other way, but this is easy. Right, great. And now just steer yourself, which side of the bank do you want to go? And it becomes an effortless journey and an exciting one.
Yeah, and what I love too is you talk about it. I mean, you are that guide to help people go beyond boundaries. And I do have a tendency to throw in book titles that CJ and I have done, and that was the first one we did, was Beyond Boundaries: Thriving in Life's Gray Zone, which, the way I put it, is that's where all the color is in the gray zone, because everything else is black and white. But being able to be there and help from the outside somebody to go past those boundaries, to see the path, because you can see the path better than they can, and finding that way to, the way I'm imagining it is finding that way to get them to kind of step outside of that box that they've been living in, and see the path with you, so that they can then get back in the box and walk the path out of the box for real.
Yeah. I mean, to use your box analogy, it's kind of like stepping out of one box and realizing and noticing for the first time, maybe the first time ever, often remembering that there is a bigger, brighter box just a few feet away. But there's a gap, and I call this the wobble zone. So it takes a month of consistent daily effort to physically rewire the neural networks in your brain. So there's a physicality to it. And then I work with energy too. So there's the mind, which separate to the physical fleshy brain, the energetic, the mind also takes a month of repetition in a slightly different way. And we merge those together. And we, as part of that 8-week journey I take clients on, there's a 4-week period right in the middle of daily action, aligned action, very bespoke to them. And that's where you're in the wobble zone, because you've got a cognitive dissonance between what you're used to doing in your subconscious, the software running in the background, and this new software that you're putting into your mind. So it doesn't marry up, the new and the old, and it manifests as, feeling sick, feeling tension, feeling worried. And the easiest thing in the world is to step back into your box, because you've been there ages. It's safe, it's warm, it's comforting, it may be dull and a bit oppressive, but it's familiar. So right. The easiest thing is to step back, and I'm there to hold their hand and say, no, we're not looking back, like we just talked about in the past. That is now in the past. Look, there's the box. Look at it. And we're inching, baby step after baby step, closer and closer, knowing, because I've done this hundreds of times, that the wobble zone disappears at the end of week 4. 28 days to 30 days, it's scientifically proven. And when you step out of that, suddenly there's no cognitive dissonance, and it's accepted by the mind as the new software. And suddenly all that worry goes away, and it's like, wow, I can do this. And I'm there to go, yeah, and if you can do it once, you can do it again. What's next? What's the next step? When it gets all really exciting and liberating, it's wonderful to be a part of that journey.
Well, and I see that the way I view it too is, that first step, it doesn't matter how big the first step is, It just has to be a step. It can be a baby step. It can be moving one toe forward. It doesn't matter as long as you take the first step, because that means you're more likely to take the next step and the next step and get out of it. And I like how you explain that is of walking them through, especially the rewiring aspect, because I think so many of us we want to rewire aspects, but it can be so hard to keep, especially if you've got ADHD. It's like, for me, it's like I'm good for maybe a week of trying to do something like that, and then my mind just goes, and the next thing I know, it's like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going, oh crap, I stopped. I shouldn't have stopped, or I'd have been fine now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned the, scientific proof, and it's been repeated many times, but what I often tell people about was a NASA experiment in the 1960s, early days of the space race. They had these glasses, special glasses that went on with little prisms in them. And basically it inverted the world of the astronauts. If they went to shake somebody's hand, they'd shake the opposite way. Up was down, down was up, and this kind of thing. It was very, very disorientating. And it was as much a psychological test as well as to see inner ear, nausea, that kind of thing. They had to wear these 24 hours a day, the crews. They couldn't take them off to shower, to sleep, anything. And they were making, monitoring their vitals and just reporting in every day about it. And one of the trainee astronauts, towards the end of the program, at I think it was day 29, woke up and his vision was the right way up. And he thought, oh, no, his goggles, his glasses had came off in the night, and he reached up, but they were still on. And he's kind of confused, and so he's gone straight in. And they thought, this is fascinating. How weird. One of our astronauts has, their brain has flipped the image from the retina to make it right side up. But they made a note, did some tests, and told everybody else, carry on with the experiment. One by one, over the next few days, up to day 31, every single one of those test cases, their brains flipped the vision. And it was a rewiring of the actual neural pathways in the physical brain. And they've repeated it several times, where they got half of the people on the second test, half of them to take off their glasses halfway through the end of week 2, and then put them back on, just look around for a few hours, put them back on. And it was a further 28 to 31 days before their vision corrected. So for them, it was 6 weeks, thus proving it takes consistent, like a month of daily action, you might say, but daily, reception of the brain to rewire it that way. And so that's where I found in tests, I've got ADHD too. I've got inattentive ADHD, so I can relate. But if you stop something, even on week 3, then like, oh, I forgot, I just haven't done this thing this day. You've nearly done it every day, but I'll pick that up. You'll find, generally speaking, it'll be another 4 weeks before it's not even conscious. It's a proper, real habit. So that applies to anything, giving up smoking, drinking. There's difference. There's other things involved in them, obviously, with addictions to chemicals and things. But the brain part of that gets a lot easier after that end of the first month. It becomes less of a, an issue and more just keeping on track.
Yeah, I keep trying to think about ways to get myself to do some of that, because it's like I can put stickies on the mirror in the bathroom and all this. After a few days, I don't even see them anymore. I don't know if my brain is actually looking at them or not, but consciously, I'm not looking at it anymore. So I don't know if it's really doing any good to put stickies all over the place, because I don't see them. I make notes all over the place, and half the time forget where I put it.
Yeah, exactly. So it needs something completely new in that instance. So if I was working with you, and if you didn't have a morning routine, let's just say, or your morning routine was getting up, having a coffee, showering, getting ready, and that was it, kind of thing, you didn't have any you time, then I'd look at, well, why haven't you got any you time? Why don't we elongate that coffee and make that, what does that look like? It was 15 minutes. And then you tell me, oh, I need more sleep. I can't. And the usual, okay, but could you go to bed 15 minutes earlier? Is that not, do you want to, not, are you excited about that? Is it possible for you to go to bed 15 minutes earlier? Well, of course it is. You know, how bad do you want this change in your life? Yeah, enough to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. Great, because you're getting the same sleep. You're just going to get up 15 minutes earlier, identical amount of sleep, right? And then it's within, because now that's a completely new thing, a new window. Well, this is strange. That's where you do the action in that little 15-minute window, wherever that might be, the affirmation, the mindfulness, whatever new thing you need to embed. When you do it in this new window, it's so different. And you can monitor it. So I literally monitor that with clients. They have a chart in a back office in a coaching portal with a physical graph that they enter their 5-10 minutes, whatever they're doing every day. And I can see that as their coach. That helps bed the new habit. And also that accountability. You know, if they're struggling, I'm there. They know they're going to get a call from me or a nudge. Oh, I better do that. I'm talking to Curtis tomorrow. I nearly slipped. And, you know, they know to do that every day because we're working together, you know, on that, and I've got their back. So accountability is important, but creating something new, because like you say, and I've done it, leaving notes on a mirror, sticky dots and little things to remind me, something behind my monitor. If there's a stronger belief overpowering that, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activation system, and it literally just morphs out and filters those things out. So you're quite right. You don't see that Post-it note because it's been overwritten by something else, a stronger belief, often a limiting belief. So you literally don't see it. But that wouldn't occur in this specialized little window that you've gifted yourself every day.
What I like about what you just said is that accountability piece. There's a lot of coaches out there who I feel like they say they're there for you, but if you don't quite do what you had said you were going to do, it's like they're just taking the money and they're not doing the accountability. They're not really there to support. They just become somebody you talk to for what, an hour every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, and it doesn't feel like there's really, they leave it all in your hands, and sometimes we need more than leaving it in our hands, because like I said, especially with ADHD, it's so easy to, 1 minute it's like, yes, I'm going to do this, and something else pops up and they're like, oh, this is important, and then this is important, and the next thing you know, you've forgotten what you were supposed to do that was going to keep you on target.
Exactly that, you know. And oftentimes with ADHD, more than ever, we're terrible for shiny object syndrome and being excited by this latest newfangled thing. This is going to be the answer to all of my challenges. This is great. And then it fizzles out until the next thing comes along. Did we quite finish that first thing? Easily distracted. And so accountability is absolutely key. And in my own case, I mean, I've had different experiences. There's excellent coaches out there. There's less than good coaches out there. There are people who'll take your money. There are heart-centered coaches out there. You know, it's a wide variety. But in my own world, what I've done for this exact reason is limit myself to just 5 people a month. I only take 5 people on a month. And I've got gurus pressing a calculator saying, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you should charge twice this. And it's not about that. Sincerely, it's about how can I be of the greatest service to people,
right?
And whilst living the lifestyle in alignment and honoring my authenticity. How many hours a day do I want to focus and dedicate to helping other people? How many hours do I want to exist and spend time with my wife and to get out in nature and to do charitable concerns and, you know, all of the aspects of life that are important? And for me, that means if I have only 5 new clients a month, I can spend that quality time with them. We have a Slack channel. It's like an old walkie-talkie. They're in touch with me, a coach in their pocket. We'll have those weekly meetings, half-hour catch-up calls. And I've also done a ton of video lessons that they tune into, and they get a worksheet at the end of that, teaching them new ideas, stretching their perceptions. And I monitor that too, like a teacher marking homework. I get to see what they've said and I can feed back to that. So it is an 8-week journey, and they will definitely not leave in 8 weeks' time the same person, because they're dropping limiting beliefs. They're soaking up new empowering beliefs, and I'm giving them the courage to face fear in a different way. I did 30 years as a movie stuntman. I know a few things about fear and its various forms. So to be able to pass that on to people, how great, to take lemons and turn that into lemonade, that career that was no longer me, to turn that around and now pay it forward in love and kindness and helping people combat fear.
Well, and fear, we can talk that one too, because the way I describe fear is it's in the box with us. That's what holds us back so often, is that fear. And the reason it survives in the box is because the box is dark. It's all shadows. There's cracks in the walls, but it's all shadows. So there's not enough light to brighten up that space. And fear has a very seductive voice, but if you saw it, you would run the other way. So because it's in the shadows, you can't see it, but that voice knows, and it knows everything about you. So it knows how to spin a translucent web of lies if you try to look at the world with a grain of truth that will basically keep you stuck in the box. It's like, you don't want to do that, because this is going to happen, whether it's experience or you see it on the news or whatever. Fear is one of the biggest things to overcome in so many ways. And not the truly protective fear, but the fear that just holds us back.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, because as you just said, there are many different guises of fear. The fear of failure is one. What will the neighbors think? What will my friends think if I try this and fail? The fear of failure, as well as the obvious, more kind of fight or flight, reptilian brain fears of, what if I can't make any money? What if I stand forward and say these things and the work dries up? And, I can't pay the mortgage, can't pay the rent. What if, and all these things that are just variations of limiting beliefs and shadow aspects, and all fixable. And once we operate in a certain way, and that's what I help my clients with, is just to see things for what they are, so that you get to a point where you can sit with that thing. Because they're like, oftentimes fear is like an old story that we tell ourselves. And sometimes when we see that, and you can be flippant about it, here we go, I haven't seen this story for a while. Hello, fancy seeing you. It's just an old story, and you can laugh, and you're taking the sting out of it. It has no power over you anymore. That's a story you told yourself because you were bullied at school, or you got rejected, or these stories, that's ages ago. We've moved on. And there's different techniques to see that and let that be seen, and just to say that, thank you, that no longer serves me, and it's had its time, but thank you, seriously, that helped me through a phase of my childhood, that I could see why you protected me in that way, that little cocoon, but I'm not that little child anymore, or the spawned adult, or the rejected person, whatever these different stories are. So a lot of those are linked to fear, and some fear is healthy, of course.
Oh yeah.
If I didn't feel fear as a stuntman hanging off the edge of an aeroplane, I'd be very worried. So sometimes there's a time and a place to use that fear to our advantage, to be absolutely on it, laser focus, to survive. And you can put that across the business too. There's healthy versions of fear. So it's just getting comfortable and becoming much more aware and mindful of these different energies and these different feelings. Why am I feeling this way? Is this to help me today? Is this something that I can embrace and it's beneficial? Like, I got nervous just 10 minutes before coming on here to talk to you. There's no reason to, but I just went through some breathing. I've been looking forward to talking to you, but that's a healthy fear. Made me take stock, focus, breathe, be attuned, create a space from where I am in England, create a nice energetic container for our conversation. And so that served me well, a little bit of nerves just before I came on. So, working with fears as your friend, an ally rather than your enemy.
Well, and I like how you put um, some of those times when we've moved beyond it, but then fear tries to pull us back into something, and you can look at it and go, I'm already past that. That's ancient history. You don't have to bring that up again. It's not going to work this time. It's done working. It's lost its spark, as it were. Um, and we need to do that more and more, because I kind of wonder if that wouldn't be one of the things that would help with the rewiring as well. Every time that you can consistently do that. I can think of fear. When I think of my mom, by the time she was 50, she basically panicked every time she forgot something, because she was afraid she was going to have Alzheimer's like her mom and her grandmother. That is what she passed from. And I can't help but wonder if part of the reason she ended up with it was because she let the fear just come into her thoughts all the time about, I don't want to do this. I forgot this. Oh no, what's going to happen? We need to move beyond that. We need to not let that fear take over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a real thing, if your subconscious doesn't hear do or don't, have or haven't. I hope I'm not getting Alzheimer's. If you think that every day of your life, your subconscious hears Alzheimer's every day, Alzheimer's, which has a frequency and a resonance, which gradually, careful what you wish for, even though you're not consciously wish. It works both ways. What you're wishing you don't get, what you're wishing you do get, your subconscious doesn't hear do or don't. So got to be careful where we pitch. I reframe everything as a positive. I don't even say the H word that rhymes with rate. It's not in my vocabulary. Seriously, I just don't say it. And I don't have anything negative that I say in day-to-day conversation. I just reframe it, so in terms of my health, I don't really feel that healthy today, or, I wouldn't phrase it in any other way. And I don't take any medications. I don't go to doctors, touch wood, knock on wood, as you'd say. But many years living healthy, and I have a routine. I'm into my yoga and holistic health, but I that part of that is, I really strongly believe, is living a very positive lifestyle and speaking of everything with a positive spin. So there isn't any negativity at all in my life. And I do my best. You mentioned seeing something earlier on the news and that kind of thing. I even feel out over the years, I can pick up on frequencies and resonations of things that, like the mainstream media news, the trying to scare everybody and keep everybody in that place of fear, because that's the extreme end of a scale, with love at one end, fear at the other, like a slide switch. And we as the human race want to feel love and harmony and inclusion, and just love each other and share that kind of commonality, and we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, and we can do that together, and it's a beautiful thing. There's certain elements at play in the world, as you're probably aware, that would love nothing more than all of us to remain in that fearful place. So rather than dwell on that, you can make the strongest thing you can do is just turn off your mainstream media, turn your back on that, don't engage in that gossip, and just move away from all of these lower vibrational things, and just be mindful of what you allow into your energy stream, your consciousness through your five senses, and be mindful of that, and surround yourself with things that make you peaceful and happy, and be a kind, loving individual.
I tend to do that. I will check out the news. I'll check out snippets here and there, just to kind of have a baseline, but I try to stay away from spending all this time watching it, because it's not going to do any good. It's just too much negativity, and we don't need all that negativity. We need more positivity in the news. And unfortunately for news people, they don't see it as being something that sells. Even if everybody said they wanted it, they'd probably never get it.
Yeah, exactly that. It's secondary, isn't it? Maybe decades ago, when I used to watch the news, it was and finally, and there'd be some story of some panda born in captivity or some soft story of like, oh, isn't that sweet, just to round it off after 20 minutes of death and destruction and war and
Yep.
all the horrible stuff. But like you can't live in a bubble. I do see something at the newsstand, waiting at the cashier, I'll take a double look and I'll spot it. But I view it as propaganda really these days. What are we being led, what are the masses being led to believe at the minute? What's the latest fib? And I just see it at that. I give it no credence, no energy. I'm aware of things, around the world going on and what we're being led to believe. But I just, in my world, in my little part of the world, I can make a difference by ignoring that and doing the opposite and giving and caring and helping people, and in my own tiny little way making the world a better place. But if there's millions of us doing that, then that really does make a massive effect across the globe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need more of that. We need more positivity in this world. It's like, yeah, we're getting. I knew this would go fast. These always go fast. But I want to kind of talk real briefly before we get to the end of finding your calling, and how how did you how did you figure your calling? How did you figure what you really needed to do when you hit that point of going from stuntman to what you're doing now?
It was a gradual transition over a period of weeks that led to like an epiphany, if you like. And that was, I was invited to speak at my old school that I left when I was 16 by my old form tutor. He got in touch and he'd said, could you come along to your old school? We're going to knock the old school building down, so it's a chance to see the school again one last time before we bulldoze it down. Would you come along and just share your story with the students? And I'd said, well, I guess so. I'm quite a humble character, and I didn't think it worthy of that they won't have any interest. And he said, Curtis, that these children are leaving school at 15 instead of 16 and a half. They're not even going to college till they're 18 in the UK, or beyond to university till their 20s. Their mothers are encouraging them to get pregnant, the females, at 15. And I was shocked, like, not really, yeah, because there's benefits, and that's how they, were able to pay their rent. And, it's like kind of encouraged to just, we get even more benefits. And it's like, wow, okay. And the guys were aspiring to either be professional soccer players or drug dealers, and mainly the latter. These are children at 16, So would I turn up, and maybe it would inspire them hearing that you don't have to go down that route. Some of the students have gone on to different things. So we came up with this story. Okay, I'll pretend to be a local businessman to throw them off the scent, and then I'll share my diary with them. So very quickly, I shared my diary with them, pretended to be all shy and retiring, and said, oh, it's really embarrassing, but when I was your age, I wanted to be a stuntman in a James Bond movie, and I wanted to break world records. And they all laughed. And then I quickly ran VT and said, I didn't listen to any of the people laughing, because everyone did laugh. And this is what happened. And then they see that actually I did break 2 Guinness World Records, and I did star in a James Bond movie. And I did go on to do all of the things I wanted to do as a child, you see. So it was during that moment, that epiphany and that feeling of having made a difference. Mm-hmm. I made less money that day than I would as a stuntman, but I realized that doesn't matter. I'd rather earn less money making a difference in the world than more money in something that didn't resonate.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I love that story because it gives them a really nice twist at the end. And some of the best stories, that's how they come across. I mean, look at some of the movies the best movies out there is when there's that twist at the end that is not expected. and you did it and showed them it's like you can do more than dream. You can make it happen. And I love that. And as we kind of hit the end of everything, what I'd love to do is make sure you just say how to get a hold of you, and if there's any last nuggets that you want to add before we kind of close out.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm across all social media, Curtis Rivers. I have a website, curtisrivers.com. Surprise, surprise, if anybody's interested. I have free tools. There's one called the Alignment Compass. So that's at www.alignmentcompass.com. And I have a book still available called The Fearless Path. It's available on Amazon. So, yeah, feel free to reach out. My door's always open. Happy to help.
I love it. It's been great having a conversation with you. And I love to finally have had that conversation. So I look forward to more because it's been fun talking with you. And for everybody else, I will see you. Thanks for coming, and I will see you all next week. And then I'll just see you after the closing, Curtis.
Lovely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciated it.
Oh, it's so much fun. And then in terms of the 50 inspirational, if you haven't, the 50 inspirational is still going on. Reach out to CJ or me, and I know she's got a link to fill out the form. But there's so many people out there that they really should do it. They're inspirational. I mean, you're inspirational, Curtis, and should be a part of this. Whether you self-nominate or you nominate somebody else, we'd love to have you join the 50 inspirational. And with that, I will say goodbye, and you can listen to the song she gave me to play on the 50 inspirational. And I'll see you when this is over, Curtis.
Thank you.
Yo, it's not just a scroll. It's a movement. Get it? Hey, let's get it. Tap it, level up, this the real lane. Dr. Leyland dropping fire, not playing games. 50 deep with a mission and a voice. Ain't just talk, we the power, we the choice. We spotlight rebels, dreamers, queens, bosses, builders, legacy machines. You want truth, you want real. This the type of vibe that you feel and heal.
From the mic to the gram, LinkedIn too. 50 connections, yeah, that's the crew. Wanna grow, wanna shine, wanna be seen. This the dopest network on the scene. So don't just lurk, engage, ignite. Click that follow, change your life. This ain't hype, this a tribe on a mission. Level up style, legacy edition. So don't just lurk, engage, ignite. Click that follow, change your life. This ain't hype, this a tribe on a mission. Level up style, legacy edition.
Let's the real man, yeah. Let's get it. Tight, yeah. Let's the real man, hey. Type in, level up, this the real lane. Dr. Leyland dropping fire, not playing games. 50 deep with the mission and a voice. Ain't just talk, we the power, we the choice. We spotlight rebels, dreamers, queens, bosses, builders, legacy machines. You want truth, you want real. This the type of vibe that you feel and heal.
From the mic to the gram, LinkedIn too. 50 connections, yeah, that's the crew. Wanna grow, wanna shine, wanna be seen. This the dopest network on the scene. So don't just lurk, engage, ignite. Click that follow, change your life. This ain't hype, this a tribe on a mission. Level up style, legacy edition. So don't just lurk, engage, ignite. Click that follow, change your life. This ain't hype, this a tribe on a mission. Level up style, legacy edition.
It's the movement. Let's get it. Yeah. We all drop night shit. taking over.